been showcased at the 1955 Detroit Auto Show.
Test driver Johnny Stoppa flicks a switch to lower the plastic canopy.
I looked at my Futura I had sitting in the backyard and I said, double cockpit, it's got the formation, it's a metal car. I can put that together with a team of 25 guys in a couple of weeks and have it ready for them.
In just 3 weeks, Barris found ways to change the Futura's distinctive design into features suggesting a four-wheeled bat.
The hood became the nose. The headlights became the ears, which were incorporated right into the fenders. The mouth became the front end. And then from there it carried on, and I had fins from the bat. And the Batmobile, of course, likes to have kind of a bat sound. If you listen, we changed the exhaust system and the piping to stainless steel pipes, so we got kind of a bat sound.
The Batmobile became one of the most iconic cars of the 1960s. Viewers around the world bought into the fantasy of a crime-fighting car that shoots rocket flames and projects bat rays to stop criminals in their tracks. Who wouldn't want a car that came with a bat scope for surveillance?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
An anti-fire activator when things got too hot. And even a mobile crime computer in the boot, 40 years before the invention of wireless PCs.
You've done it again, Sharp. Let's just hope we're not too late.
Like 007's DB5, the Batmobile was a visionary vehicle that predicted many features standard in cars today, although a few of its extras were pure bat fantasy.
Quick, get me a timing on this tape and a complete set of subway schedules. The Batmobile will do the rest.
On screen, the Batmobile's combustion system was powered by an atomic engine. Of course, an atomic car engine doesn't really exist. The engine of Barris's Batmobile was actually standard internal combustion.
Really, you know what this jet tube is? It's a 5-gallon can that we can throw the turbo flames out of.
Hold on, old fellow. I'm getting you.
The Batmobile also boasted an emergency bat turn lever. One pull of the handle and the car could execute a 180-degree turn. But although the nylon parachutes are real, a trick Barris borrowed from the world of drag racing, pulling off this bat spin required rear screen projection and a professional stunt driver. But the Batmobile did get some things right. Most anti-theft control systems aren't as flashy as the Caped Crusaders, but they can be found on many modern cars. And a car phone like the one that kept Batman wired to Wayne Manor
Batman speaking.
seemed an impossible consumer fantasy back in 1966. Today, it's common equipment.
Batmobile to airport. Red alert. Prepare Batcopter for immediate takeoff.
George Barris's Batmobile inspired hordes of collectible merchandise and still draws crowds at car shows today.
Wow!
The Batmobile may be one of the coolest things on four wheels, but when it comes to Hollywood's thrill rides, another amazing vehicle proves that the sky's the limit. In 1965, the James Bond epic Thunderball featured a technological marvel that created almost as much excitement as the Aston Martin DB5, a personal rocket pack.
James Bond is in operation. And what an operator he is.
Audiences saw James Bond strap on that jetpack and start flying away. The excitement that went through the audience was palpable. Kids all over the place said, when can I get me one of these and go to school? It was everybody's fantasy to be able to have one of these jetpacks and be able to control your own fate, fly where you want to fly, get to where you want to get in mere seconds.
Making the device even cooler was the fact that rocket packs really did exist. Pilot Bill Suter is one of the few people who knows what it feels like to actually fly using a rocket pack. Suter took his first flight in 1964 at the ripe old age of 19.
You had nothing around you, less than you see when you're riding your bicycle. The only thing you saw in front of you were these two handles, and it was really incredible to fly the thing. It was a feeling unlike any I can describe.
The origins of the rocket pack go all the way back to the 15th century. In the 1480s, artist Leonardo da Vinci sketched what he called an ornithopter. It was an imaginary mechanism that he hoped would allow humans to achieve winged flight like birds. In the age of aeroplanes, personal flight became a familiar image in comic strips like Buck Rogers and the 1940s movie series Commando Cody. Finally, in 1953, an engineer for Bell Aerosystems named Wendell Moore imagined what he called a small rocket lift device. With backing from the US Army, Bell inventors experimented on a prototype. And in 1961, engineer Harold Graham took the first untethered rocket pack flight in history. The science behind rocket belt travel used the same principle as rocket engines.
This is a hydrogen peroxide rocket, one of the simplest, most reliable, and safest rockets there is. In a typical flight, open the throttle, you start to rise. This is your power for going up and down. To move forward, the tubes are mounted on a ball joint on a gimbal back here. And your thrust tubes, they provide not only your vertical power, but your forward, back, sideways motion. And what you'll do is, to move forward, you'll press down on the handles, the tubes will deflect aft, and you'll start to move forward.
The combustion process inside the pack reaches temperatures of over 700 degrees Celsius, enough to burn a person to death.
It's a literal explosion that's going on right up here behind your head. And the rocket engine itself, the sphere, is only about as big as a grapefruit. And it's producing almost 1,000 horsepower. So what you actually have here is there's no combustion, there's no flame, it's just a steam jenny. And what you're actually flying on is a steam jet.
But scientists at Bell couldn't solve one problem, which soon caused the Army to lose interest in the rocket pack. No trip could last more than 21 seconds.
6 gallons of fuel was exhausted in 21 seconds. So that was very impractical, but it was never meant to be a practical flying machine. It was only to prove the concept that a man...
The Army may have lost interest in the rocket pack, but Hollywood didn't. Producer Irwin Allen incorporated the device into his 1965 TV series, Lost in Space. Allen was so convinced the rocket pack would be a big part of his program that he showcased it in an early sales presentation and shot extensive footage of the gadget being flown in Red Rock Canyon, California.
Wouldn't Dad like to use this gadget to beat that throughway traffic? It's the jet-propelled rocket belt worn by space scientist John Robinson, resourceful father of this castaway family.
Through clever editing, the producer made it seem that actor Guy Williams could soar endlessly through the air on this miraculous invention.
Will, report your position.
Unfortunately, in the real world, the brevity of flights wasn't the only limit placed on rocket pack pilots. Anyone using the pack had to wear a helmet, a fact that frustrated the producers of Thunderball.
James Bond is in operation. And what an operator he is.
Bill Suter was one of 2 real-life pilots doubling for 007 in the film. When Suter insisted on wearing a protective helmet in the movie, Thunderball's producers pointed out that they'd already shot helmet-free close-ups of Sean Connery.
The director, producer, whoever, he says, well, you can't wear a helmet. All the film we've taken so far of Sean flying, he's not wearing a helmet. We said, well, we're not flying without a helmet. Number one, the helmet is the protection of the old melon should you go down and hit the pavement. But number two, in the back of the helmet, there was a buzzer, a vibrating motor that pressed against your skull. When you took off and you started flying, when you got that first buzz at 10 seconds or 11 seconds into the flight, you started looking very seriously at your landing site and planning your landing.
It was another 40 years before Bond could take his first helmet-free trip on a rocket pack, when his character was recreated in a computer for the video game From Russia with Love. Although Bell scientists couldn't make the rocket pack user-friendly enough, they had more success with another invention, the jetpack, which used an engine instead of a chemical reaction. As a result, the jetpack used far less fuel and could fly for up to 20 minutes. So why aren't we all heading to work in our own personal jetpacks? For one thing, the price is prohibitive. And like the rocket pack, it's incredibly dangerous, a fact illustrated in the 1991 movie The Rocketeer. In this salute to classic movie serials of the 1930s, Bill Campbell stars as a pilot who becomes the first person to experience the thrills and dangers of a secret new invention.
Come on, Pete.
The film was pure fantasy. But scenes like this contain some good common sense advice for real-life rocketeers.
I think we're gonna need a helmet.
They needed first-class piloting skills, 20/20 vision, and a lot of luck.
Jetpacks are a perennial vision in science fiction. We all dream of the personal ability to fly, but they seem to butt up against some fundamental energy realities. And what seems more promising is the sort of personal helicopter that some people are working on. It's essentially a strap-on helicopter that has real, linger time, long range, and it seems to be substantially viable. And in some ways is even more dramatic than the mini-copter that you saw in Bond in You Only Live Twice.
Movie and TV viewers can still hitch a vicarious rocket ride into the sky. And they can also travel in the opposite direction, deep below the ocean's waves, thanks to some extraordinary Hollywood tales that are already coming true.
Hang on, gentlemen. Touchdown. Crowd goes wild.
Explorer, this is Cap 3, starting our descent along the umbilical.
As seductive as flying beyond the pull of Earth's gravity is the dream of taking a super submarine down into the mysterious realms of the deep seas. In 1989, director James Cameron's drama The Abyss took moviegoers on a journey that proved prophetic in its portrayal of undersea exploration.
Coming to bearing 065.
The film stars Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and is the story of a US nuclear ballistic sub that sinks to near unreachable depths. A Navy SEAL team is deployed to retrieve the vessel's nuclear weapon.
This is us, sitting right on the edge of the Cayman Trough. This is the Montana.
Also helping to retrieve the bomb is a team of oil drillers attached to a submersible platform rig near the crash site.
Cap 1, do you have a visual? Cap 1, do you copy?
Yeah. Roger that.
The Abyss is an ambitious mix of sci-fi fantasy and science fact. Scenes showing friendly underwater aliens are balanced with depictions of undersea vehicles that appear to be totally real. But although the crafts in the Abyss seem realistic, subs as sophisticated as these didn't exist at the time the film was made. They were created entirely for the production.
I loved the idea of deep submersibles, but I'd never been in one, so I wrote this script and I figured, I always write scripts that take me toward things I'm interested in, because I think, well, maybe this will turn into some kind of cool opportunity. So we wound up working with submersibles, working with sub people, doing sub dives.
A lifelong student of science, Cameron was a former physics major at Cal State Fullerton. To make the abyss credible, he and his team created submersibles that start